The cowboy could barely stand when he found the young native wounded by the riverbank, trembling like someone who had been left to die more than once. But when the man, almost out of strength, placed his only medicine in the native's hands, the young man's eyes widened as if he recognized that gesture from somewhere far, far away. And the moment the tribe saw the object he was carrying, the silence that fell over the camp made even the elders hold their breath. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and comment where in the world you're watching from, because now I'm going to tell you everything. The air felt thin, even though the sky was a huge, endless blue. Ben Carter walked slowly, each step a small victory over the weakness in his legs. He stopped, his breath coming in short, ragged pulls that hurt his chest. "Well, Pa," he said to the quiet wind, "I made it to the river." The Two Medicine River rushed below him, all cold, white water and noise. It was his favorite place. He looked at the mountains he had seen every day of his 58 years. He was saying goodbye. The doctors in the city of Billings had said the words 2 weeks ago. The sickness in his lungs was not going away. There was no cure. They gave him a small bottle of special medicine. It did not fix him. It only made the pain quieter for a little while. Now the bottle in his coat pocket was almost empty. It was his last dose. Ben did not tell anyone about the doctors. He just fed his horses one morning, patted his old dog on the head, and started walking. He wanted to see his land one last time. He wanted to be under the big sky when the end came. He thought about his father, Samuel, a quiet man. He taught Ben to work hard and to help people without waiting for a thank you. Ben had lived that way. He ran the ranch alone. He spoke few words. He expected little. His hand went to the front of his belt, his fingers rubbing the smooth silver of his rodeo buckle. He always did that when he was thinking. He was thinking about how a whole life could feel so small under such a big sky. A cough shook his body, deep and raw. He leaned against a pine tree until it passed. He felt the weight of the little glass bottle in his pocket. He could take it now. It would make the walk back easier, maybe give him one more evening on his porch. But he did not take it. He saved it for when the pain got too bad to stand. He pushed away from the tree and kept walking along the high path above the river. The sun moved across the sky. Ben's steps became slower. The weakness was winning. He knew he should turn back, but the river called him forward. He came to a place where the ground was broken by sharp rocks. He had to move carefully. Then he heard it. Not the river, not the wind. A sound, a low groan of pain. Ben stopped. His eyes, used to seeing small things in big spaces, scanned the rocks below the path. At first, he saw nothing. Then he saw a boot. A person was lying on a flat rock near the water, half hidden by a bush. Ben's tired mind moved slowly. Someone was hurt. He made his way down, his own legs trembling, holding onto branches so he would not fall. It was a young man. He was wearing jeans and a dark jacket. His face was twisted in pain. One of his legs was bent at a wrong angle, a bad fall. The young man's eyes opened. They were dark with pain and surprise. He saw Ben, an older white man in a cowboy hat, staring down at him. "Who?" the young man whispered. "Name's Ben," Ben said, his voice rough. "You took a bad fall." "My leg. I think it is broken. I cannot move." The young man tried to sit up and cried out, falling back. His skin was pale. He was losing strength fast. Ben knelt beside him, a wave of dizziness making the world spin. He was so tired. He looked at the young, pained face. He looked at the rushing river. He looked back at the path that led home, a home he would likely never see again. He thought of his father's words, "Help folks without expecting a thank you." The young man's eyes were closing. He was going to pass out. The day was getting colder. If Ben left him, he would not last the night. Ben's hand went to his coat pocket. His fingers closed around the small glass bottle. His last dose. His one small comfort for the hard end that was coming. He looked at the bottle. He looked at the young man. His choice was simple. It was not even a choice, really. He pulled out the bottle. He used his teeth to pull out the small stopper. He put a hand behind the young man's head. "Here now," Ben said, his voice soft. "You drink this. All of it." "What is it?" the young man mumbled. "Something that will help," Ben said. He tipped the bottle, and the last of the thick, sweet medicine poured into the young man's mouth. Ben watched him swallow. He felt a strange peace. He had done the last good thing he would ever do. He put the empty bottle in the young man's hand. "You hold on to that." He sat back on the rock, the last of his energy gone. The world began to fade at the edges, turning soft and quiet. The last thing he saw was the young man, Kaya, staring at the empty glass in his hand, his eyes wide, his pain forgotten, full of a shock so deep it cut through his own hurt. Ben did not see why. He just closed his eyes, the sound of the river pulling him down into a deep, final sleep. A deep, warm feeling spread through Kaya's body. It started in his chest and moved down his arms and legs. The sharp pain in his leg faded to a dull ache. The cold that had been seeping into his bones vanished. He took a full, clean breath. It was the first one since his fall. He pushed himself up onto his elbows. He looked at the old man. Ben was slumped against a rock, his eyes closed. His skin was a bad color, like gray clay. His breathing was so shallow Kaya could barely see his chest move. Kaya looked down at his own hands. One hand was empty. The other held the small glass bottle the old man had given him. It was empty now. "Mister?" Kaya said. His voice was stronger. "Mr. Ben?" Ben did not. One hand was empty. The other held the small glass bottle the old man had given him. It was empty now. "Mister?" Kaya said. His voice was stronger. "Mr. Ben?" Ben did not move. He did not make a sound. Kaya's mind, now clear, began to work fast. This white man was very sick, dying sick. He had been walking out here alone, and he had given his medicine, his last medicine, to a stranger. A wave of shame and gratitude hit Kaya. He had been stupid. He had climbed too high on the rocks to look for eagle feathers. He had slipped. Now this kind man was paying for Kaya's mistake. He had to help him. Kaya carefully moved his leg. It was stiff and sore, but it was not broken anymore. He could bend it. The medicine had done something powerful. He stood up, testing his weight. He could walk. He knelt next to Ben. "Mr. Ben, can you hear me?" Ben's eyelids fluttered but did not open. A rough whisper came out. "River's loud." "Yes, it is," Kaya said. He put his hand on Ben's coat. The man was cold. "We cannot stay here. It will be dark soon. I need to get you to my people. They can help." Ben's head shook, a tiny movement. "No, my ranch is that way." His hand twitched, pointing weakly back up the path. "You will not make it to your ranch," Kaya said, his voice gentle but firm. He slid one of Ben's arms over his shoulders. He took a deep breath and stood, pulling Ben up with him. The old man was tall and lean, but Kaya was strong. He slid one of Ben's arms over his shoulders. He took a deep breath and stood, pulling Ben up with him. The old man was tall and lean, but Kaya was strong. Ben's feet dragged on the ground. "Okay," Kaya said, more to himself than to Ben. One step, then another. He began the slow, hard walk away from the river. He was heading east toward the Blackfeet camp near Hart Butte. It was several miles. It would take hours. As he walked, the empty bottle was still in his hand. He had not let it go. The glass was smooth. He turned it over in his fingers without looking. His thumb felt something on the bottom. It was not smooth. It was a rough patch, a pattern. He stopped walking for a moment, holding Ben up with one arm. He lifted the bottle and looked at the bottom. There, etched clearly into the glass, was a mark. It was a wolf, running. A circle was drawn around the wolf. Kaya's breath caught in his throat. His heart beat fast. He knew this mark. He had seen it every day of his life. It was carved into his grandmother's favorite wooden bowl. It was beaded onto her old bag. It was the symbol of her family. His arms. The questions would have to wait. The most important thing now was to get Ben to grandmother. The walk was long. The sun began to sink lower in the sky, making the plains glow gold. Kaya talked to Ben as they walked, even though the man could not hear him. "Not much farther," Kaya said, his own legs burning with effort. "My grandmother, Alara, she knows all the old medicines, the plants. She will know what to do." Ben muttered something about the wind. "Yes, the wind is picking up," Kaya answered. "We are almost there." Kaya saw the tops of the trailers and tents of the camp just as the last light of the sun was fading. Smoke from evening fires curled into the purple sky. He could hear dogs barking. He used the last of his strength to half carry, half drag Ben toward the closest circle of light. A few people outside saw them coming. A woman stood up, her hand over her mouth. A man called out, "I need help," Kaya shouted, his voice cracking with tiredness. "Please." People ran toward them. Hands reached out to take Ben's weight from Kaya's shoulders. As they gently laid Ben on the ground, Kaya finally let himself sink to his knees. He held up the small glass bottle for everyone to see. "This man," Kaya said, panting, "he saved me. He gave me his last medicine. And this." He turned the bottle over, showing the bottom to the faces gathering around. "This mark. This is Grandmother Ilara's mark." A deep silence fell over the group. All eyes moved from the bottle to the pale, dying man on the ground. Then they all turned to look at the old woman walking slowly toward them from her tent. The people made a path for Elder Ilara. She walked slowly toward the group gathered on the ground. Her eyes were not on the people. They were fixed on the small glass bottle in her grandson's hand. Kaya held it up higher. "Grandmother, look." Ilara knelt beside him. She did not touch the bottle at first. She just looked at the bottom. She saw the running wolf inside the circle. Her breath caught. Her old thin hands began to shake. She reached out and took the bottle from Kaya. She held it like it was a baby bird. She turned it over and over. She ran her finger over the etched mark. "Where did you get this?" she asked Kaya, her voice a whisper. "From him," Kaya said, pointing to Ben. The men had placed a blanket under Ben's head. His eyes were closed. "He found me hurt by the river. He gave me the medicine that was inside. It was his last medicine. It made me strong again, but he is very sick." Ilara looked from the bottle to the pale face of the white man. She studied his features for a long time, the lines around his eyes, the shape of his jaw. A memory, old and faded, flickered in her mind. "Bring him to my tent," Ilara said, her voice suddenly strong and clear. "Make a bed by the fire. Be gentle." The men moved quickly. They lifted Ben with care and carried him toward Ilara's tent. The crowd followed, talking in low, confused voices. Inside the tent, they laid Ben on a soft pile of hides near a small stove. Ilara covered him with another blanket. She felt his forehead. It was cold and damp. Kaya stood close by. "Grandmother, what is it? What does the mark mean?" Ilara sat back on her heels, the bottle still in her hand. All the people of the camp had crowded into the tent and around the doorway. Everyone was silent, waiting for her to speak. "This mark," Ilara began, "is my family's sign. My father made it. I put it on things that were important. A long time ago, I put this mark on two things. One was a basket for my son. The other was a small glass bottle. I gave that bottle to a man as a gift for a great kindness." She looked at Ben's face again. "This man looks like that other man. He has the same kind face." "What happened, grandmother?" a woman asked from the doorway. Ilara took a slow breath. 50 years ago, my first son, Little Hawk, was just a boy. He was 9 winters old. He followed a dog out into a field when the weather was bad. A blizzard came fast. He was lost. People nodded. They knew this story of sadness. Little Hawk had died young from a sickness later, but they did not know all of the story. "We searched for 2 days, Ilara said. The snow was too deep. We had no hope. Then, on the 3rd morning, a man came to the edge of the camp. He was a rancher. He was carrying my Little Hawk in his arms. My boy was frozen and sick, but he was alive." She looked around at her people. The rancher said he found the boy in a ditch by the road, nearly buried in snow. The boy was too sick to tell him where he lived, but the rancher knew he was Blackfeet from his clothes. He had been riding all over, asking at every camp he could find. Ilara held up the bottle. "My boy was burning with fever. This rancher, he had a small bottle of medicine with him. It was rare medicine. He gave it all to my son. He poured it into his mouth right there. He said it would break the fever, and it did. My boy's fever left him that same night." The tent was completely silent. "I asked the man his name," Ilara continued. "He said his name was Samuel Carter. I tried to give him gifts, food, a fine hide. He refused. He said, 'A good deed is its own payment.' The only thing he took was a drink of water for his horse. Before he left, I saw his medicine bottle. It was empty. I felt a debt, so I gave him my own gift. I had a new bottle of the same kind of medicine, bought from a trading post. I etched my family mark on the bottom so he would remember. I gave it to him. I said, "May this help you or yours one day, as you helped mine." He thanked me and put it in his coat. He rode away. We never saw him again. Her eyes filled with tears as she looked at Ben. This sick man is named Ben Carter. He has his father's face, and he has the bottle. He carried my kindness in his pocket for all these years, and today he gave that last kindness to my grandson. A soft murmur went through the crowd. People looked at the dying rancher with new eyes. Kaya sank down beside his grandmother. He understood now. He did not know, Kaya said quietly. He did not know who I was. He just saw someone who needed help. Ilara placed her hand on Ben's chest. She could feel the weak, ragged heartbeat. "The circle is complete," she said to the whole tribe. "Samuel Carter saved my son. Now his son has saved my grandson. Our families are tied together. This man is not a stranger. He is a brother who has returned a great gift." She stood up, her voice firm. "We will not let him die. We will use our knowledge. We will use our plants and our songs. We will fight this sickness for him. We will do for Samuel Carter's son what he once did for my child." The people nodded. The mood in the tent changed from confusion to a strong purpose. They moved with quiet energy. Someone went to get water. Someone else began to prepare herbs. Ilara began to softly sing an old healing song. Kaya took Ben's cold hand in his own. He made a promise to the unconscious man. "You are not alone anymore. We will help you." The smell of smoke and herbs filled the tent. Ben drifted in a fog. He heard sounds, the soft crackle of a fire, a low rhythmic song. It was not English. The words flowed like water. He felt warmth on his skin. He forced his eyes open. The world was blurry. He saw a curved ceiling of hide above him. This was not his ranch house. A face came into view. It was the young man from the river, Kaya. He was wiping Ben's forehead with a cloth dipped in warm water. "You are awake," Kaya said. He smiled a little. "Good. Where?" Ben's throat was dry. It hurt to talk. "You are in my grandmother's tent, in the Blackfeet camp. My people." Ben remembered pieces, the river, the fall, the medicine. He tried to sit up, but a wave of weakness pushed him back down. A cough tore from his chest, deep and painful. Kaya's hand was on his shoulder, gentle but firm. "Do not try to move. Just breathe." Another face appeared. An older woman with long silver hair and kind eyes. She looked at him for a long moment. She held up the small glass bottle. "This was yours," she said. Ben looked at the bottle. He nodded slowly. "Yes," gave it to him. "I know," the woman said. "My name is Ilara. I am Kaya's grandmother. This mark on the bottle is my mark." She turned it to show him the wolf and circle. "You do not know this story, but I will tell you. My son, Little Hawk, was lost in a snowstorm many years ago. A rancher found him. That rancher gave my son his own medicine to save his life. That rancher was your father, Samuel Carter." Ben stared at her. His tired mind tried to understand. His father, his quiet, kind father, had never spoken of this. "My father?" Ben whispered. Ilara nodded. "He was a good man. He asked for nothing. I gave him a new bottle of medicine with my mark so he would remember. He must have kept it all these years. And now his son gives that last medicine to my grandson." She placed her hand over Ben's hand. Her skin was warm and rough. "The circle is closed, Ben Carter. Your father's kindness has returned to my family. Now my family will give our kindness to you. We will try to heal you." Ben did not know what to say. His eyes felt wet. He looked at Kaya, then back at Ilara. I am dying. The doctor said so." "Doctors do not know everything," Ilara said softly. "They do not know the old ways. They do not know the spirit of the plants here. We will try." For the first time since the doctor in Billings spoke those words, Ben felt something other than cold acceptance. He felt a small, fragile spark. It was not hope, not yet. It was just a feeling that he was not alone. Over the next 2 days, Ben slept a lot. When he was awake, people cared for him. Kaya was almost always there. He brought Ben broth made from meat and wild onions. "You need to drink," Kaya said, helping him sit up to sip from a cup. The broth was hot and good. "Thank you," Ben said. "You gave me your last medicine," Kaya said. "This is only broth." Women from the camp came with different teas. They told him the names of the plants in their language: sage, sweetgrass, juniper. The teas tasted bitter and clean. Ilara came many times a day. She would grind dry plants into a powder with a stone. She mixed the powder with warm water and honey. She helped Ben drink it. "This one is for the heat in your chest," she explained. "This one is for strength." At night, Ilara or other elders would sing. The songs were not for Ben to understand with his ears. They were for him to feel. They were steady and strong, like a heartbeat. One afternoon, Ben was sitting up, propped on hides. He felt a little stronger. The deep cough came less often. Kaya sat cross-legged on the ground beside him, cleaning some fishing hooks. "You do not have to stay here with me all day," Ben said. "You have things to do." Kaya shrugged. "This is what I need to do." He looked at Ben. "Why did you give me the medicine? You did not know me." Ben was quiet for a moment. He looked at the small fire in the stove. "My PA, he had a rule: help folks without expecting a thank you. I saw you there. Hurt. I had the medicine. It was the right thing to do." "It was a brave thing to do," Kaya said. Ben shook his head slowly. "No, it was just the only thing to do." Kaya smiled. "That is what a brave person says." A comfortable silence fell between them. Ben watched the camp life through the open tent flap. Children ran by laughing. Someone was chopping wood. It was a different world from his quiet ranch. It was a world of people together. Ilara entered with a new cup of tea. She saw Ben sitting up and watching. She saw him talking with Kaya. A small smile touched her lips. "The color is better in your face today," she said, handing him the cup. Ben took it. His hands were steadier. "I feel a little better. Not so heavy." Ilara nodded. "The sickness is strong. The fight is long. But you are not fighting alone. We are all fighting with you." Ben drank the tea. It was bitter, but he did not mind. He was starting to believe her words. For the first time in months, he thought about tomorrow. He wondered what the next day might bring. The sun was warm on Ben's face. He was sitting outside Ilara's tent on a folded blanket, a thick wool coat borrowed from Kaya around his shoulders. He watched two little girls playing with a puppy. A week had passed since Kaya brought him to the camp. Ilara came out and sat beside him. She handed him a wooden cup. "Drink this, all of it." Ben took the cup. The tea inside was a deep green color. It smelled of pine and earth. He drank it without complaint. He was used to the bitter tastes now. "How do you feel in your body today?" Ilara asked. Ben thought about it. He took a slow breath. "The knife in my chest is duller. I can breathe to the bottom of my lungs. Not all the way, but more than before." Ilara nodded. "Good. The plants are doing their work. Your body is remembering how to be strong." Kaya walked up, his boots dusty. He had been out checking fishing lines. "He looks better, more color." He sat down next to Ben. "Maybe tomorrow you can walk to the creek. It is not far." "Maybe," Ben said. The idea of a short walk did not scare him like it would have a week ago. A man from the camp, named Thomas, approached. He looked worried. "Ilara, Kaya, some of the men coming back from the North Ridge say they saw trucks, big trucks, over near the old mining road. They were not there last week." Ilara's face grew serious. "Did they see people?" "No people, just the trucks, and marks from heavy machines in the dirt." Kaya stood up. "That is on the far edge of the sacred land. No one has a right to be there." "I know," Thomas said. "It is probably nothing. Maybe surveyors from the state." "Maybe," Ilara said, but her voice was tight. She looked out toward the distant mountains. Ben watched their faces. He understood worry. "Trouble?" he asked quietly. "We do not know," Kaya said, sitting back down. "Sometimes people from mining companies look at our land. They think there are minerals in the mountains. They do not care that the land is sacred to us. They only care about money. The old treaty papers say this land is ours," Thomas said. "But those papers were lost many years ago. Without them, it is harder to prove our claim in the white man's courts." A cold feeling, different from his sickness, settled in Ben's stomach. He thought of his own land, his ranch. He knew what it was to fight for what was yours. Later that afternoon, Ben was alone with Kaya inside the tent. Ilara had gone to gather more plants. "These treaty papers," Ben said. How were they lost? Kaya stirred the fire. It was a long time ago. There was a fire at the old council house. Many important things were lost. The story says a copy was given to a friend for safekeeping. But that was so long ago, no one remembers who that friend was. Ben was quiet. He thought about his father. Samuel Carter was a man who helped people and asked for nothing. He was a man who kept promises. My father, Ben said slowly. He kept things. Important papers. He had a metal box. Kaya looked up. What kind of papers? I do not know. I never looked. After he died, I put the box on a shelf in my ranch house. I never opened it. It was his private thing. Kaya's eyes were intense. A metal box? Where is it? In my bedroom, on the top shelf of the closet. Ben coughed, a short, dry cough. You think? I do not know, Kaya said. But it is possible. Your father was a good man. He helped my grandmother. He could have been that friend. Ben looked at his hands. They were still thin, but not shaking as much. When I'm strong enough to go home, I will look. I will open the box. Kaya nodded. First, you need to get strong. That evening, the whole camp ate together. Ben sat between Kaya and Elara. People brought him food and talked to him. They asked about his ranch. They told him stories about the land. He felt a part of something. He had not felt that in many years. When the sky was dark and full of stars, Ben lay on his bed. He could hear the soft voices of people talking by the central fire. He could hear the wind in the pine trees. Elara's words came back to him. Asterisk, the circle is closed. He thought about his father saving a little boy in a snowstorm. He thought about giving his medicine to Kaya. He thought about these people now fighting to save him. It was like a chain of kindness, each link connected. He was not just a sick rancher waiting to die anymore. He was Ben Carter, Samuel Carter's son. He was part of a story bigger than himself. He had a reason to get well. He had something to do. He closed his eyes, listening to the wind. For the first time in a very long time, he wanted to see what tomorrow would bring. The big black truck was parked on a ridge 2 miles from the Blackfeet camp. Inside, Harlan Slade lowered his binoculars. His mouth was a thin, hard line. That's him, the one they carried in, he said to the man in the passenger seat, Duke. He's still there, walking around now. Looks weak, but he's up. Duke, a bulky man with a shaved head, chewed on a toothpick. Who is he? Don't know. Don't care, Harlan said. His voice had a sharp Texas edge. But he's a white man living in that camp. That makes him a problem. He could be from the government. He could be from a rival company. Or he could be a do-gooder trying to help them with their land claim. Harlan started the truck's engine. The sound was a low growl in the quiet evening. He drove down the rough dirt road, away from the ridge. You sure about this mineral report, boss? Duke asked. I'm sure, Harlan said. The samples don't lie. There's a fortune in those mountains, enough to set me up for life. And the best part? Those people can't prove it's theirs. They say it's sacred. Harlan laughed, a short, ugly sound. Sacred don't mean nothing in a court of law. What matters is paper. And the old treaty papers that gave them this chunk of land are gone, burned up. Without them, their claim is weak. My lawyers say we can push them out. We just need to encourage them to leave. And the sick white man? Duke asked. He's in the way, Harlan said simply. He makes them feel stronger. They think they have an ally. We need to remind them they are alone. We need to scare them so bad they pack up and run. They drove for 20 minutes to a temporary camp Harlan had set up. It was a cluster of trailers and off-road vehicles. A few other men were there, rough-looking men Harlan paid in cash. Harlan stepped out of his truck and slapped the hood. Listen up. The men gathered around. They were 5 in total. We move tomorrow night, Harlan said. The target is the main camp near Hart Butte. We are not going to hurt anyone, not directly. We are going to make a lot of noise. We're going to start a few small fires away from the tents. We're going to shoot some guns in the air. We want them terrified. We want them to think trouble has come to stay. One of the men, a younger one named Leo, shifted his weight. Shooting near people is risky. Harlan fixed him with a cold stare. Do you want your money or not? This is a show, a performance. When people are scared, they make bad decisions. They leave. And once they're gone, we move our equipment in. We start digging before anyone in the state government can blink." He looked at each of their faces. "The weak white man is the key. If you see him, you make sure he gets a special scare. Maybe chase him a little. He's the symbol of their hope right now. You crush that symbol, you crush their spirit." Duke crossed his arms. "What if they fight back?" Harlan smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "With what? Hunting rifles? They're not soldiers. They're a bunch of families. They'll grab their kids and run. That's what people do." Back in the Blackfeet camp, the evening was peaceful. Ben was telling Kaya about the time a calf got stuck in the mud on his ranch. "Took me and 2 horses 3 hours to pull her out," Ben said. "She was mad as a hornet after." Kaya laughed. "We have stories like that too, just with buffalo a long time ago." Ilara came over, her expression serious. Thomas came back. He went closer to the old mining road. He saw more than trucks. He saw a drill, a big one on a trailer. Kaya's smile faded. "They are not just looking. They are preparing to dig." "We need to call the tribal council lawyer tomorrow," Ilara said. "We need to tell the state police." "Will that stop them?" Ben asked quietly. Ilara was silent for a moment. "It will slow them down. Maybe. But without the treaty papers, our voice is softer. They have money and lawyers. It is a hard fight." Ben looked into the fire. He thought of the metal box on the shelf in his closet. He thought of his father, a man who kept his promises. "I need to get home," Ben said. "Soon. There is something I have to check." Kaya put a hand on his arm. "A few more days. You are stronger, but you are not ready for that walk. Your ranch is miles from here." Ben knew he was right. He nodded, but the feeling of urgency was a stone in his stomach. Trouble was coming. He could feel it in the air, as real as the chill of night. He just didn't know how close it was, or that it was watching the camp from the dark hills, making its plans. The first fire bloomed at the edge of the camp like an ugly orange flower. Then another. The shouting started a second later. Ben was jolted awake by the noise. Kaya was already on his feet, pulling on his boots. "Stay here," Kaya said, his voice tight. He grabbed a heavy flashlight and ran out of the tent. Ben pushed himself up. His heart was pounding in his weak chest. He heard men yelling, not the voices of the tribe, stranger voices, rough and mean. He heard a gunshot, then another. They were shooting into the air. Ilara was at the tent flap looking out. Her face was calm, but her eyes were wide. "They are trying to scare us," she said. A woman screamed. Children were crying. People ran past the tent, shadows in the flickering light of the fires. Ben stood up. His legs felt shaky, but they held. He had to help. He saw a group of small children huddled by a storage shed, looking lost and terrified. Their parents were nowhere in sight. He moved toward them, holding onto tent poles for support. "Hey!" he called out, trying to make his voice steady. "Over here!" The children stared at him, frozen. "Come with me," Ben said. He remembered his father's words from a story long ago. "There's a split in the canyon wall, son, like a secret door. The old ones used it when trouble came." He had never seen it, but he knew the direction. "I know a safe place. Follow me," he said, more firmly now. He started walking away from the camp, toward the dark wall of the canyon. After a few steps, he looked back. The children were following him, holding each other's hands. The path was rough and hidden by brush. Ben's breath burned in his lungs, but he did not stop. He pushed through a thicket of bushes, and there it was, a narrow crack in the rock, just wide enough for a person to slip through. "In here," he said, quickly. He helped usher the 6 children into the dark crack. Inside, it opened into a small, sheltered cave. It was cold and damp, but it was hidden. "You stay here. Do not make a sound. No matter what you hear, I will come back for you." The oldest girl, her face streaked with tears, nodded. Ben slipped back out into the chaos. He needed to find Kaya and Ilara. Near the central fire, he saw Kaya. The young man was facing 2 of Harlan's men. One held a wooden club, the other had a gun. "You need to leave," Kaya shouted. "You need to get off this land," the man with the club, Duke, replied. He swung the club at a cooking pot, sending it clattering. Ilara stepped out from behind a trailer. "This is our home. You cannot scare us away." Duke laughed. "Watch us, old woman." At that moment, Harlan Slade himself walked into the firelight. He saw Ben. A nasty smile spread across his face. "Well, look here," The sick white man, you're the problem. I am not a problem, Ben said, standing as straight as he could. You are a symbol, Harlan said. He walked right up to Ben. And I break symbols. He nodded to Duke. Take him. Kaya moved to block them, but the man with the gun pointed it at the ground near Kaya's feet and fired. The blast of dirt made Kaya jump back. Do not be a hero, kid, the gunman said. Duke grabbed Ben's arm roughly. Ben was too weak to fight. He did not have the strength. Let him go, Kaya yelled, starting forward again. Harlan turned and pointed a finger at him. You follow us, and I will burn every tent here to the ground. You understand? This is just a warning tonight. Next time will be worse. He looked at Alara. Take your people and go. This land isn't yours anymore. Then Harlan and his men pulled Ben away into the darkness. They half-dragged him past the burning tents, past the crying people, and into the trees where their trucks were waiting. They threw Ben into the back seat of the big black truck. As the truck engine roared to life, Ben saw Kaya running after them, his figure growing smaller in the rear window. Then the truck bounced onto the main road and the camp disappeared from view. Harlan turned from the passenger seat to look at Ben. You should have stayed in your own world, old man. Now you're part of mine. The truck bounced over rough ground for a long time. Ben sat in the back seat, his hands not even tied. Harlan did not see him as a threat. The two men in the front did not speak. Finally, the truck stopped. They were high in the mountains. The air was thin and very cold. The only light came from the truck's headlights, shining on a wall of pine trees. Harlan got out and opened Ben's door. Get out. Ben moved slowly. His body ached from the rough ride. He stood on the damp ground, shivering in his thin shirt. Duke and the other man, Leo, stood nearby. Harlan lit a cigarette. The flame made his face look hard and orange for a second. You caused me a lot of trouble tonight. I did not do anything, Ben said, his voice quiet. You gave them hope, Harlan said, blowing out smoke. Hope makes people stubborn. I need them to be scared. I need them to leave. They will not leave their home, Ben said. They will, Harlan said. Everyone has a breaking point. I just have to find it. He took a step closer. Now, you are going to tell me who you are. Are you with the government? Are you a lawyer? Ben looked at the dark trees. He thought of Alara's story. He thought of his father's metal box. A strange calm settled over him. He was not afraid of this man. I am a rancher, Ben said. My name is Ben Carter. My father was Samuel Carter. The name meant nothing to Harlan. He waved his hand dismissively. Why are you with them? They are helping me, Ben said. I was sick, dying. They are healing me. Harlan laughed. They're healing you? With what? Weeds and songs? You're a fool. He threw his cigarette on the ground. You know what I think? I think you're trying to help them fight me. I think you know something about their land claim. Ben was silent. The cold was seeping into his bones. Talk, Duke shouted, moving forward. Harlan held up a hand to stop him. He studied Ben's face. You do know something. I can see it. Ben took a slow breath. The mountain air hurt his lungs, but it also cleared his head. You are looking for the old treaty papers, he said. Harlan's eyes narrowed. What about them? You think they are lost, burned. You think that means you can take the land. That's right, Harlan said, a smug tone in his voice. No papers, no proof. Ben looked directly at Harlan. The calm inside him was solid as stone. The papers are not lost. My father had them. He kept them safe. For the first time, Harlan's confidence cracked. His smile vanished. What did you say? My father, Samuel Carter. He was a friend to the Blackfeet long ago. They gave him the treaty papers for safekeeping. He put them in a metal box. That box is in my house, on the ranch. It has been there for 50 years. The silence in the clearing was total. Even the wind seemed to stop. Harlan's face turned red with anger. You're lying. I am not, Ben said. You can go look. The box is on the top shelf in the bedroom closet. The papers are inside. They have the signatures. They have the government seals. They prove the land belongs to the Blackfeet. Forever. You will never dig there. Harlan stared at him, his fists clenched. His whole plan, his fortune, was crumbling because of an old metal box on a shelf. He stepped so close Ben could smell the cigarette smoke on his coat. You stupid old man, Harlan whispered, his voice shaking with rage. Why would you tell me that? Now I have to go get them. and I have to make sure you never tell anyone else." Ben did not look away. "If I do not return to the camp, Kaya will go to my ranch. He will look for me. He will find the box. He will take the papers to the tribal council. Your plan is over." Harlan was trapped, and he knew it. He could not let Ben go. He could not let him stay. He turned and walked back to the truck, his back to Ben for a full minute. He turned around. The rage was still there, but it was cold now, calculated. "You think you've won? You're a sick man in the middle of nowhere. The cold will do my work for me." He nodded to Duke and Leo. They got back into the truck. Harlan looked at Ben one last time. "The papers will be ashes by morning, and you'll just be a dead rancher who got lost in the mountains. A sad story." He got in the truck and slammed the door. The headlights swung around, blinding Ben for a moment. Then the truck drove away, its red taillights getting smaller and smaller until they disappeared into the trees. The darkness and the cold rushed in. Ben was alone. He heard the sound of the truck engine fade into nothing. Then there was only the sound of the wind in the tall, dark pines. The cold was a living thing. It wrapped around Ben's chest and squeezed. He stumbled through the trees, his feet numb. He knew he could not stay still. If he stopped, he would fall asleep. If he fell asleep, he would not wake up. He thought about the metal box. He hoped Kaya was smart. He hoped Kaya would go to the ranch. He hoped Harlan would not get there first. His legs gave out. He fell to his knees in the pine needles. It was so hard to breathe. The sickness and the cold were working together to pull him down. He used the last of his strength to crawl behind a fallen log. It would block some of the wind. It was all he could do. He closed his eyes. He thought of his father. He thought of Kaya's face. He thought of Alara's songs. "We are splitting into 3 groups," Kaya said. His voice was strong, but his hands were clenched. The first light of dawn was turning the sky gray. The camp was a mess of soot and fear, but everyone was safe. The children Ben had hidden were back with their parents. Thomas and 5 other men stood with him, holding flashlights and rifles. He could be anywhere. Harlan took him up the old logging roads. "We will find him," Kaya said. He looked at his grandmother. Alara's face was pale, but her eyes were sharp. "He is strong in spirit, but his body is weak. The cold is his enemy now. Go, bring him home." Kaya led his group of 2 men up the most likely road. They drove as far as they could, then got out and walked, calling Ben's name. Their voices disappeared into the vast trees. "Ben!" Kaya shouted, his throat raw. "Ben Carter!" They walked for over an hour. The sun was fully up, but it gave no warmth. Kaya's hope was getting thin. Then one of the men, Joe, pointed. "Over there, tracks." They were boot prints, uneven and dragging. They followed them into a dense patch of pines. "Ben!" Kaya called again. A weak sound answered. Not a word, a groan. They ran toward the sound. They found him curled behind the log, his skin the color of ash, his lips blue. He was not moving. Kaya fell to his knees. He put his hand on Ben's chest. It was still. For a terrible second, he felt nothing. Then a shallow, faint rise. "He is alive," Kaya said, "but just barely." They worked fast. They had brought heavy wool blankets. They wrapped Ben tightly. They rubbed his arms and legs gently to make the blood move. Kaya took off his own coat and put it around Ben's shoulders. "We need to get him to the truck. Now," Joe said. They carried Ben like he was made of glass. Every step was careful. They got him into the back seat of the truck, and Kaya held him the whole bumpy ride back to camp, trying to share his own warmth. The healing tent was warm. Alara had prepared everything. They laid Ben on the hides. He was so cold. "Build the fire hotter," Alara instructed a young woman. She began to mix herbs in a bowl, stronger herbs now, for cold and shock and pulling the spirit back to the body. Kaya never left Ben's side. He helped Alara lift Ben's head to trickle a hot, dark tea into his mouth. Ben did not swallow at first. Then his throat moved. "That is good," Alara murmured. She began to sing, a different song now, a strong, pulling song. For 2 days, Ben did not wake, but his color improved. The blue left his lips. His breathing became deeper, less ragged. The camp was quiet. Everyone waited. On the 3rd morning, Ben opened his eyes. He was looking at the hide ceiling. He felt warmth. He felt a heavy blanket. He turned his head. Kaya was there, asleep in a chair, his head nodded forward. Ben tried to speak. His voice was a scratch. Kaya. Kaya's eyes snapped open. He leaned forward. Ben, you are awake. Cold, Ben whispered. Not anymore, Kaya said, a huge smile breaking across his face. He called out, Grandmother, he is awake. Ilara came quickly. She felt Ben's forehead. She looked into his eyes. She nodded, a slow, deep nod of satisfaction. The cold is gone, the sickness is next. Now we finish the work. The care intensified. Ben drank broth and tea every few hours. The deep, tearing cough that had been in his chest for months started to change. It became looser. Then, one afternoon, it stopped altogether. A week after they brought him back from the mountain, Ben sat up by himself. He took a full, clean breath. A breath that did not hurt. He held it, then let it out. He looked at Kaya and Ilara. I can breathe, he said, wonder in his voice. Ilara smiled. Yes, the sickness is broken. Your body is healing itself now. You just need food and rest and strength. Ben looked down at his own hands. They were steady. The constant tired weight was gone. It was like a shadow had lifted from him. He was not just better than he was on the mountain. He was better than he had been before he ever started his last walk. He was well. The truck bumped down the familiar dirt road. Ben Carter was driving. Kaya sat in the passenger seat, looking out at the rolling plains. They were going to Ben's ranch. It feels strange, Ben said, his hands steady on the wheel. To be driving myself. To be going home. You are well, Kaya said. It is where you belong. Part of me belongs there, Ben said. Another part belongs back at camp with your grandmother, and with you. They pulled up to the small ranch house. It looked lonely under the big sky. Ben got out and walked to the front door. His legs were strong. He turned the key and stepped inside. The house was just as he left it, quiet, dusty. It felt like a place from another life. The bedroom is here, Ben said, leading Kaya down the short hallway. He opened the closet door. He reached up to the top shelf. His fingers touched cold metal. He pulled down a small, rusty metal box. He carried it to the kitchen table. He and Kaya sat down. Ben took a deep breath and opened the latch. Inside were a few old papers, a faded photograph of Ben's mother, a dried flower, and on the bottom, a thick folded document tied with a faded blue ribbon. Ben's hands were careful as he untied the ribbon. He unfolded the paper. The writing was old and formal. At the top it said, *, Treaty of Mutual Peace and Land Rights *. At the bottom were many signatures. Some were names he did not know. One was the name of Kaya's great-grandfather. Another was the signature of a government official from the year 1877. Kaya leaned over, his eyes wide. This is it, he whispered. This is the proof. Ben nodded. He pointed to a paragraph. It says the land of the northern mountains, from the Two Medicine River to the ridge, is for the Blackfeet people in perpetuity. That means forever. Kaya looked at Ben, his face full of emotion. Your father kept it safe, all this time. He kept his promise, Ben said softly. He refolded the paper with great care. They drove straight to the tribal council offices in Browning. Ben walked into the building with Kaya at his side. They asked to speak to the council chairperson. A woman named Mary led them into a room. Several elders were there, including Thomas. Ben placed the metal box on the table. My name is Ben Carter, he said. My father was Samuel Carter. A long time ago, your people gave him something to keep safe. He opened the box and took out the treaty. He handed it to Mary. She opened it. Her eyes moved over the words. She looked at the signatures. Her hand went to her mouth. She showed it to the other elders. A murmur filled the room. One of the oldest men stood up. He had tears in his eyes. We have heard stories of this paper. We thought it was lost. You have brought our history back to us. It belongs to you, Ben said. My father was just holding it for you. Now I am giving it back. Mary came around the table and took Ben's hands in hers. You have saved our past, and you have saved our future. How can we thank you? Ben shook his head. No thanks are needed. Your people saved my life. You healed my body. You gave me a family when I was alone. We are even. That evening, back at the camp, there was a quiet celebration. A fire was lit. Food was shared. Ben sat between Ilara and Kaya. Harlan Slade's men packed up and left today, Thomas told the group. They saw the tribal police and the state police at their camp. They knew the game was over. They are gone. A cheer went up, but it was a soft, thankful cheer. Later, as the fire burned low, Ilara spoke to Ben. "You will go back to your ranch tomorrow?" "Yes," Ben said. "I have animals that need care, but I will not stay away long." He looked at her. "If that is all right." Ilara smiled. "You are always welcome here, Ben Carter. You are family. This is your home too, if you want it." "I do," Ben said. "I want to learn. I want to help. I am not done living yet." Kaya put a hand on Ben's shoulder. "Good, because I still want to hear all those stories about your ranch, and I want to show you how to fish the way my grandfather taught me." Ben smiled. It was an easy, full smile that reached his eyes. "I would like that." The next morning, Ben drove back to his ranch. The house was not lonely anymore. It was a place between places. He tended to his horses. He fixed a fence. He worked under the same big Montana sky, but he did not feel small under it anymore. He knew that in a few days, he would get in his truck and drive east to the camp. He would bring supplies. He would sit with Ilara and listen. He would work alongside Kaya. The circle his father started with a bottle of medicine had closed around him. It had saved him. It had given him more than his health back. It had given him a reason to live and people to live it with. He was Ben Carter, rancher. He was Ben Carter, friend. He was home.